You're listening to international investment advisor Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt show, the financial show where we'll talk about how you can make the most of your money. With all the confusing financial chatter bombarding you each and every day, Goldstein on Gelt will give you the practical information you want and need about living a financially stable life. Here's your host, money maven Doug Goldstein.
Okay, we are back. We are sitting with Brigadier General Maharan Prosenfer, who is the financial advisor to the Chief of Staff and the head of the budget department at the Ministry of Defense. He's been talking to us a lot about the big picture issues of the IDF. And what I'd like to start a little bit now for the second part of the show is to get a little more personal information, because I have two sons, 14 and 11, and my next door neighbor is my brother, who has 6 sons. 2 of them are about to start in the Army. So I'd like to hear, maybe your story itself is very interesting, where you came from and how you moved up in the Army, and what kids should be doing in order to see the Army as a possible career, and what they could do.
I think the Army is a great place because there is place for everyone. It is not very important what are your skills or what is your education or where you have came from. We have place for everyone, and I think that this is one of the strength point of the IDF. And I think that every young man that join, or women that join the Army, can take his potential and bring it higher. And many times he will meet interesting people, and he will learn about organization, he will learn about military organization, about discipline, and about loving our country, of course. And I think it's crucial for the country that everyone will join the Army, but it is very important for every one of us to join the Army, because I can say that I myself got many things from the Army that I believe it would be very hard to get them in any other place. So I think this is in a way a win-win situation. We are doing our obligation from one hand, but on the other hand we are getting satisfaction, sometimes education, experience, meeting people, and I think this is one of the biggest strengths of the IDF.
So as a career, if a young man is thinking of potentially staying in the Army beyond just his mandatory service, and he is interested in different areas, whether it's being in engineering or in being in public speaking, would you suggest that he perhaps try and get more education before he goes into the Army, into one of those programs, or is it better just to do the Army and then stay in the track of the Army and see where they place you?
I think this is an individual decision. There are people that it's more like that they will join the Army without any education, and that they will finish their mandatory service, and maybe they will stay in the standing Army, and then they will go to the university and they will learn and have education, and then they will do a career. Others maybe prefer, or it's good for them to go first to the university and before they are joining the Army, and then join the Army. I myself went to the university before I joined the Army, and I can tell you that I never thought that I will do a career in the IDF. It wasn't my ambition, but you know, every year I got another job and other things, and I thought, man, never mind, I will stay for one more year, and that's how I now maybe more than 25 years in the Army. And so I think it's every individual should take his decision and but I believe that no matter which route you're taking, you will get your benefits.
A lot of people who listen to the show are considering making Aliyah, and one of the concerns they have is, apart from the fact that it might be difficult to find a job, although it's very difficult to find a job in America these days also, is that if they own their own business in Israel and they have to take a month off a year to do miluim, to be in the standing army, a reserve soldier, it could make their business collapse. How do you deal with that, or how do people deal with that?
I think that in the last 3 or 4 years we took many actions in the reserve army. Not only that we are trying not to call them to the army to do unnecessary works, for example, and they come to the army only for training and not for advising, for example. The other thing is that we're trying to deal with the employees and the employers, that they won't do any actions to hurt the reserve army. And there are other committees in the IDF that deals with those who have private business and they have a problem in some period of the year to leave the business. So I think we are more aware of that, and there is openness. And I think still, after all that, it is difficult, sometimes hard to leave your business. But I believe that we can find the right way or the right path that we can do both of them.
You mentioned before that one of the benefits of being in the military is the discipline that you learn. So as a financial advisor, I tend to speak to people about discipline as well and the importance of budgeting. And yet today, the vast majority of Israelis, many of whom served in the army, are deep in overdraft, and they're in minus in the bank, in minus in the bank. Is there something perhaps that the army could be teaching them, that apart from the discipline of how to clean your gun and be a good soldier, but just how to be disciplined in your mindset, so when they leave they'd be a little more responsible?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think Israelis have a special culture, and I think one of the sport in Israel is to measure which one of us is in a bigger minus in our bank. So I'm not sure that the IDF can change that. In other ways, I can say that maybe sometimes when you are in a minus in a bank, it's not so bad, because if you invest the money for good purposes and it will bring you income in the coming years, maybe it's not always so bad. But still, I think the discipline is very important. But I'm not sure that in this case the IDF can fix it.
You sound like Donald Trump, who is the famous American who borrows huge amounts of money and then invests it in real estate and hopes for the best, although it is true that many, many Israelis love buying real estate both in Israel and out. Currently, there's a huge amount of turmoil in the Arab world. All of our neighbors are in the news every day, which is maybe a little bit refreshing because we're not necessarily on the front pages. But obviously this could have a huge effect on us, both from a military and an economic standpoint, and a military economic standpoint. Is this a big discussion, or is this something that you're dealing with in terms of in your office in the Ministry of Defense?
Of course, we are dealing with that, and we are watching what is going on. I think it's emphasized our democracy. I think it's emphasized our values, democracy, human rights, the value of life, pluralism, liberalism. I think, and again, it's come to the Jewish moral, I think, maybe, that what keeps us a free nation for all these years. And of course, there are other aspects that we are examining all the time, and I believe that when we'll finish our work, we will be able to say what else should we do. And maybe in the long run we should increase the MOD budget, but still we are not in the end of this work. And other thing is, we are not sure what is going on really, because the turmoil is, I think, it's not finished yet, and there are always every day something new, and we watch them, of course.
We are talking with General Maharan Prosenfer, who originally made Aliyah from Iran many, many years ago when he was very young. I'm just a little curious about that. As Israel is a country of immigrants, having come from an Arab country, do you feel that gives you a different perspective on life here in Israel?
I believe so. I made Aliyah when I was 3 years old, but I remember that it was hard for my parents to make Aliyah, and it wasn't very easy. And as a little boy, I can remember that, and I can't forget that. And maybe that's why I will never forget, and I never forget where I came from. And I'm trying to take all these difficulties and to make them something good. Not to complain about them, but to try to make the area a better place for us, for our neighbors, and maybe if we will see other Jewish people that come to Israel now, we'll try to make their Aliyah easier. And in my military career, I believe that this is something that was kept in my mind all the time, even though I don't think about it every minute.
Okay, we are just about out of time. We're talking with General Maharan Prosenfer about the money side of the army, but he's been in the Israeli army for over 25 years, and certainly seen how the Israeli army has contributed to the economy of the country. In other words, I would like to suggest it's not only a drain on the economy, but I'm curious, do you see it that way too? And in the last minute or so, could you just tell us how the Israeli army, in fact, has helped Israel economically?
Well, the main goal of the IDF is to ensure the existence of the State of Israel, but while doing so, the IDF creates many economic benefits. And maybe I will give one example. If you will take, for example, the export of the military industries, you will see that last year there were more than $7.5 billion export of the military industries. Now, this export is very significant to the economy. And the role of the IDF and the MOD is very significant in that. And this is one example only. If we will take other areas, you will see that the contribution of the IDF to the economy is huge. Not only to the economy, but also to the welfare and to the education. And in many other areas, the IDF contribute to the economy and to the welfare of the society, and not only its main goal.
Okay, General Maharan Prosenfer, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today. I hope we'll have you back sometime in the future. Of course, at that time, maybe we'll have peace in the land, and the military will simply be to travel around and help everyone. Thanks again for your time.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt show.